those good employees, one of the things I found is when they see other employees wasting time and taking long breaks, they actually get really frustrated with it. So they would get upset because, they feel like the company isn't being managed well, and they get frustrated with the other workers and the company itself, and they actually lose interest in the work. And I think, as all small business owners know, good employees are like gold. So you want to do whatever you can to keep them happy. And I actually found that it works really well to help keep good employees happy and make sure that everybody's staying on task, what they like to see.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a good one. Our guests are the co-founders of a streamlined time tracking and payroll system called Payticker. Kreg, MacPhee, and Brad Rougeau, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning. Thanks.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we met at a conference, the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers of Canada, actually, a couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely loved your story of the business and how you generated your business. And so I'm looking forward to sharing that with the audience today. So I'd love for you to first share how you met and how you ended up leading Payticker.
Yeah, for sure. So Brad and I met in university. We were both studying computer science here at the University of Calgary. When we met, it was probably our second year. And then shortly after that, I started a landscaping company. So before I had even graduated, I started this landscaping company and started working with that too. And then in the meantime, Brad did an internship, and then we both graduated in 2013 with our degree in computer science. And then after that, my company really started to grow, which was a great thing. But of course, there's challenges with having multiple employees in different locations and stuff. So I started to look at solutions to keep track of employees and keep track of their time. There's a lot of things out there, different options that I was looking at, but nothing that really fit my needs, which was a simple time in and time out system that worked seamlessly together with payroll. Now, I know a lot of these systems do integrate with payroll, but I didn't understand why none of them seemed to be in one system. It seems like an obvious flow to me to go from the time tracking and then to automatically doing the payroll. So that's when I started to talk to Brad again, and that's where our idea came from to do Payticker.
Yeah, very interesting. And so you built this essentially to solve your own problem. And what did that look like initially? So it's like you came up with this, look, there's a problem here. I need to fix this for my business. Did you build it just for your business first?
Yeah. So when Kreg approached me with the idea, I kind of thought it would be almost a side project just for his company. And then as we got into it and started to go, we were looking and saying, oh, maybe there's an opportunity here. This is something, payroll is a pretty universal problem, and keeping track of employees' time is a pretty universal problem. So if we built it the right way, there was a huge opportunity there to solve this problem for a lot of businesses. It's not a unique problem for Craig's company, certainly. So at the beginning, it definitely seemed like a bit of a thing just for Craig's company, but then it just flowed into a much bigger thing, and been doing it ever since.
Beautiful. And how long has that been now?
It would be about 3 years. So at the time that we started, I was doing my master's degree, and it was a bit of, like I said, a side project, and Craig's been running his landscaping company. But then about a year and a half ago, I transitioned into full-time on it, and Craig still runs his business in the summer, but he's pretty much full-time on it outside of that.
Very cool. I love that. Here's a good old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And what's it done for your landscaping business? I mean, you're the person that's sort of you're both the customer and the vendor, which is cool. How did that look, and how did it go?
Yeah, it's been huge for us, just a huge time saver. So the problem before Payticker was And I don't think this is a unique problem. I think it's something a lot of people deal with. But for payday, I would have to go around and collect everybody's logbook. So we have multiple employees in different locations. And I'd collect everybody's logbook. Then I would do the times into a spreadsheet and total up the hours. And then find a gross pay. And then put that into a payroll calculator. And then print out a pay stub. And then write out a paycheck and bring all that back to the employee. So it became extremely time consuming. I had too many people in too many locations and taking up way too much of my time. It was about a half a day for that entire process. So that's where the problem really became unmanageable for me and my company. As you know, most small business owners don't have that much extra time to be wasting a half a day to do payroll. So again, that's where Brad and I started talking. And since we developed PayTicker, it came in a few different stages to begin with. So we started with the time tracking aspect, and then, that made that aspect easier. And then, of course, worked on to the payroll portion of it. But since developing PayTicker, like I said, I went from a half a day to run payroll. And now I go in, double check the hours, make sure there's no errors, anything sticks out, and I can run payroll in about 20 minutes.
It's incredible. And so you built this for yourself. Where were the first customer? Who were the first customers? What type of businesses were they?
Yeah, for sure myself. We did talk to other landscaping companies. To be honest, we didn't have as much success with that as we had first thought. And we realized later, of course, all these things you learn as you go. It's not like you know a lot of this before, but what I found out was my company is a little bit unique in the landscaping world because we do large projects. So we'll be on a project for a month or 6 weeks. So keeping track of somebody's hours on that project, it doesn't really make sense. But most landscaping companies, they go to a project and they, work on it for a day or an afternoon or a few days. So they want to keep track of all their hours on each project. And so what I actually found, or what we've actually found, is the landscaping industry isn't really, we do have a couple from that industry and everybody's unique, but what we're finding is a simpler, almost an in-office solution or something where people aren't concerned with project days. So they want to make sure the hours are accurate. They don't want to be writing down in logbooks or timesheets or, on calendars. We've seen anything and everything from business owners. They want to make sure the hours are accurate, easily kept. It's easy for employees. So like I said, not a lot of the project-based stuff, so they don't have to input a lot of stuff, simple in and out system. And so what we've actually found is some of these smaller offices like healthcare industry, physio, chiro, things like that is where it's really resonating with that ecosystem.
That's cool. And so you had to pivot a little bit. And so these companies that you're now serving, when did you, I know you've sponsored the bookkeeping conference a few years to connect with bookkeepers. When did you actually start connecting with the financial side, the people that actually had to work with these tools and make sure all the information was getting collected and tracked and all that good stuff? When did you start interacting with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we launched the system about 1.5 years ago publicly. And for the first 6 months, we were just really going after business owners. And we were going to different conferences for different industries and things like that. But what we found talking to these small business owners is as soon as payroll comes up, they just shut down because a lot of them don't fully understand it. They trust the bookkeepers to handle it. Whatever the bookkeeper tells them is what they're going to do, kind of thing. They care about the time tracking portion, but once we get into payroll, then they are afraid to make any changes. Even if the process they're currently using is not the best, they're going to stick with it because they know it works and they don't want to take on the risk of doing something different and they don't have time to kind of research different options. So then we connected with a couple of bookkeepers here locally, and through that we kind of saw what the opportunity was there. But actually, my parents are both accountants too, so they were kind of giving us some guidance throughout the process too. But the bookkeepers, especially, we found were super interested in learning about new products and improving the process because they're the ones who have to deal with the pain of collecting those timesheets from the clients they're putting in payroll or however they have it set up. So they really understood the problem, and they also had the interest and the time to find better ways to do it. So when we went to IPBC conference last year, that was where we kind of, the light bulb clicked, and we saw like, oh, these are the people we need to talk to, because every single person that came up to us was so engaging and so interested in asking such good questions. That's really where we made the shift to focusing on bookkeepers and accountants, but especially bookkeepers, because they know exactly what problem we're trying to solve for their clients, and they're the ones who really see that pain on a day-to-day basis.
It's pretty cool, and I like that, and I think it's a great message for our listener is that your clients actually do. They sometimes they're gonna want to pull your hair out, but they're actually looking to you for guidance, and so clients, you met this. This is on the ground. Clients are saying, look, my bookkeeper is doing it a certain way, and I'm going to do it the way that they want me to do it. So there's an authority there. Bookkeepers and CPAs and accountants, there's an authority position that's very powerful. And if that's nurtured, you can really impact and help your clients be successful. With your story, now that you connected with bookkeepers and you're like, whoa, we're actually solving a big problem for bookkeepers. How did that change your product development?
So at that point, we developed a program called ProTaker. That's for bookkeepers and accountants. It's when they sign up, they then get this interface where they can access all their clients. They get a free copy that they can use internally for testing or just for internal use, and they get a bit of a discount for each of their clients. And that's been very successful, and it's been a lot easier to talk to bookkeepers, and they also act as kind of a teachers for their clients too. So once we get the bookkeeper familiar with the system, they can introduce it to their clients, and we'll go on a call with the client as well and kind of walk them through it. But in a lot of cases, they're still not totally confident on it. But the bookkeeper who understands payroll at a much deeper level can kind of act as a support for that client. And so they've been huge for us in growing the business and starting to kind of scale up what we're doing with PayTicket.
Very cool. So now you have a community of bookkeepers that are helping you expand and get new clients because they're solving the problems of the clients and as well directing you in terms of your product development. What have been some of the other challenges that you faced in growing your business?
Oh, there's been so many. It really has. It's been a learning curve for us, and it's, in this tech space, it's very unique. I obviously own this other landscaping company we talked about already. And most businesses similar to that, you go out, you get work, you do the work. This tech space is a lot different where, it's an online atmosphere where pulling in customers that you have no idea where they've come from. You have no idea how they've heard of you, what they know about you. They may have a completely misperception of the entire thing. So they come to the website, and in a lot of cases, very blind. So it's been a huge learning curve of how to get to these customers, how to get to these people, and to educate them, help them learn about the system, try to show them what to do with it. We've really found that when people just come to the website, they maybe sign up for the 30-day free trial, and if you don't engage with them, nothing's going to happen. So you have to engage with them, and we really like to try to set up demos, and we have webinars and those sorts of things so we can help them get started. And then, of course, with the technology today, like we can literally start their company for them, and they can watch us and set up an employee. We can do different things that way. And so we can really, you kind of feel like you're holding their hand, but it's obvious that you'd have to do that. You can't just expect people to come to a new system and know exactly what's going to happen and where to go from there. So there's a lot of that involved and a lot of things that we've had to learn for helping people.
And the other side of that is that we've learned, and it makes sense at this point, but it wasn't obvious at the start, people aren't naturally going to change their processes. They have to be kind of forced into change, or they have to want to change their habits. No matter how good a system is, it's the people that actually make that system work. And so that's another aspect where we found bookkeepers to be super helpful. They have that direct contact with their clients, and they can kind of keep them on task and make sure they're actually making use of the system and maximizing its value. So the system can be as good as you want, but it's the people that's using it that actually give it the value.
Yeah, and it's cool. I think it's cool, anyways, that you're giving bookkeepers a tool that is really making a dramatic impact in their client's life. I mean, yourself, you were spending a half day of your time doing this, and now it's 20 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of time that you got back to your life and your business. And so now bookkeepers are able to walk in and take a similar scenario and give people their time back. That's pretty valuable. What's that been like, and what have you heard on the street from your clients and from your customers?
Well, it's huge. And, everybody has heard, and small business owners, they're worked to the bone, and you've got to work day and night all the time. And especially, for somebody like me, I have a young family. There's a lot of people out there like that. And when you can save a half a day, a few hours here and there that you can, hopefully do other things away from the business. But it's huge for small business owners. Time becomes the biggest asset of all. And there's just not enough time in the day. There's so many things to do. So many small business owners end up being the accountant and manager, and you end up doing a bunch of the work yourself and everything on your plate. And so when you can save a few hours like that, it really is huge for small business owners.
Yeah, the other aspect that we've seen is that the businesses on the system, pretty much everything, we haven't done a formal analysis of it, but anecdotally we can say almost every single one of them has added employees since they've come onto the system. And I think most of the businesses that come on, they grow because then the business owner can focus on running the business, not running the payroll. That's not really why most business owners get into business. It's not for doing the payroll. Not a lot of people have the passion for that. Some bookkeepers do, maybe, but not a lot of small business owners. So that's something that we've really found has been a positive for the business owners. They can focus on their business and not the time tracking or the payroll aspect.
Remarkable observation, actually. Happenstance, I read an email from a thought leader that I read his emails quite often, a fellow by the name of Perry Marshall, and it was about getting margin in your business. And so margin, people think of margin as being the what you've paid for something and what you've sold for something, and you need a good margin. And often people just focus on, we got to make the business have more margin. Well, in life, where you get to I guess a fast track to margin is what you're talking about, which is actually increasing margin in your day. So reducing or improving your efficiency leads you to have more time, which is more margin. And then you have that time, that margin that you gain, to add margin to your business. And I think people forget about that they think that business is going to grow on its own. It actually requires an interruption in order for it to become something different. Not always does an interruption create something better, but a positive interruption, something like technology that gives you 3-4 more hours a week to your business, that's margin that you're seeing inside of your end clients, where they're now using that margin of time to actually improve and grow their business. And so I think it's a great message for all of us to be thinking about is how are we just improving our own personal margin, our time, which is the most valuable piece, and use that time, use that capacity to grow the business in new ways. Did you notice how did you use your margin when you realized this gain of time in your business? Where did that extra time go to for you?
Well, for sure, one of the things I mentioned was my family, and I guess that would be the most important time. So away from the business, that was a little extra time that I had, but also with my business too. I definitely agree with you that I was able to, manage and be around employees a lot more. So you could see what they were doing, make sure that the product was up to par, make sure that everybody was doing what they should be, as opposed to just kind of letting them roam free. And I know, talking to other business owners too, and it was a problem that I felt as well, there's a point too where small businesses get, almost scared to grow. So you get so many people and, okay, well, I can keep an eye on these, 5, 8, 10, 12 people, but all of a sudden turn 10 into 20, 25, 30. And you don't know where people are, what they're doing. It's really hard to keep track of everything. So something that our system offers, again, is the location tracking. So for a business that has people all over the place doing multiple things, it's a lot easier to keep track of. And we've definitely talked to people, and I experienced it myself, but we definitely talked to people that were really hesitant to grow just because they didn't know how to manage a team of that size. And so when you get to that size, it's really hard to keep everybody organized and moving in the right direction. But when you can keep track of their location with our system, or a system like ours, it makes things a lot easier. You can trust it a lot more and feel free to grow a business.
It's interesting. How does that work exactly? You've got, is it done through GPS, or tell us a little bit about that? I find that interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's done through GPS. So when the employee punches in on their phone, then it'll track the location that they punch in at. And then as they move throughout the day, it'll kind of check in here, I say every 5 minutes. So the employer can go into the back end and see a map of where the employee was while they were on the clock. Or even if they're doing it through the computer, that's going to be the GPS geolocation. It's less accurate on the computer, so it might be a block away kind of thing. The phone's right on location, but either way, you can see, make sure they're actually at the job site when they punch in. And we've actually had a few clients who have told us that they've actually been able to use that to find inefficiencies in their business, where they found an employee was punching in at home kind of thing. So in a couple of cases, they were able to talk to the employee and get that corrected. And then in a couple of places, they had to let them go. And so they reached out and told us that they loved that so much. And we said, well, that's awesome, but that's probably not something we want to promote too much, that you can get rid of your employees, because we do want employees to like the system as well. And I think what we found is that the employees who are actually productive for the company, they love it. That's what Kreg said he found in his business, is that the employees who are actually doing their job, they love it, because then the people who aren't pulling their weight, they get, like you can see that who's not pulling their weight through the system.
Yeah, I've really noticed through my business, it's something that small business owners have a little bit of a fear with, of, employees are going to rebel or something. And I haven't noticed that at all. When I introduced it into my company, it was employees were very nonchalant. Okay, yeah, that's fine. No big deal. So people didn't mind at all. And of course, when employees are doing essentially what they're supposed to be doing, they're not too worried about it. They didn't really have a problem. So I actually did find it was the ones that maybe weren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, taking extra long breaks and not really being at the job site when they said they were, when they were supposed to be. Those are the ones that maybe had a problem with it. And it was the good employees that really didn't have a problem with it. And in fact, those good employees, one of the things I found is when they see other employees wasting time and taking long breaks, they actually get really frustrated with it. So they would get upset because, they feel like the company isn't being managed well, and they get frustrated with the other workers and the company itself, and they actually lose interest in the work. And I think, as all small business owners know, good employees are like gold. So you want to do whatever you can to keep them happy. And I actually found that it works really well to help keep good employees happy and make sure that everybody's staying on task, what they like to see.
I think so as well. What a remarkable outcome as well. We wouldn't even probably think of that, is that it actually creates a more cohesive organization where people feel like everybody's being managed. We often think that people don't like to be managed, and it's actually the reverse. People like structure. Some people don't, but many people need structure and process. And when you have that in place, it leads to a company being well run, and being part of a well run company is like being part of a winning team, right? We don't want to be part of a losing team. Who would want to be a part of a losing team? So I like that. Now I'm now curious about how, if I were a user of it, if I'm one of your staff members, I literally have an app that's on my phone. I get to work and I just open up the app and tap on it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, essentially that's it. So I have employees that go to job sites all around the city. So they won't even come to a central location. They'll just head out to their equipment, to their job site. And yeah, they'll quickly punch in on their phone. The system doesn't track location when they're not working. So it will just start to track location when the person punches in. And then as you set it up, you can set it up to see location for punching in different events throughout the day. And they'll just go to work, start, punch in is the first thing they'll do. It's something else people have often asked about. Well, my employees won't remember or whatever. One of the things I've found is when it has to do with employees being paid, they remember.
I was going to say, it's like, yeah. I'm like, what if they forget? It's like, well, they'll quickly learn, I guess.
They do. And, it's people. So things will happen. People will forget the odd time. But I found with my business, once you get people sort of started on the system after the first couple of weeks, through my entire business of 20 to 25 people, I'll have maybe one or two a month where they'll forget to punch out or whatever. So it's very minor. It's people are pretty good about it. And like I said, that's how they get paid, and that's the first thing they do, and the last thing they do. It seems like, well, it is the most important part of their day with regards to work.
Fantastic. And imagine, you start to think the opportunity is there's so much you could do with that. Like when we think about human behavior, there's something that they're incented to look at that app and punch it and take that action. Very clear incentive, which is to get paid, right? And to get paid correctly and all that good stuff. And so they're looking at their app. I mean, that's time on their part and attention that you're getting all the time and creating these behaviors. So it's all about adoption, having people adopt something, and you found something that has a natural incentive to have them adopt it.
Yeah, what we also found with some of the office staff was they didn't necessarily remember. So we also built a second mode, a punch clock mode, where the employer can just mount like a tablet on the wall, and they install the app on the tablet and put it on. And then when each employee comes in, they have a PIN that they enter. And that's been, for some of the offices, that's been a lot more successful because then it's like right there as they walk in the door. And so that was one of the changes we made to the system, as we found that there was more kind of in-office app. Initially, we were going for the remote companies, and there's definitely a lot of them on there. But the ones that have like one single job site, a lot of them are using the punch clock mode now too, just because that kind of helps the employee remember to punch in every time they come into work.
Wow. So interesting to hear the story, right? You're a business, the journey of when you started, why you started, and now just solving problems with technology and learning from your customers and looking at, well, why is this the way that it is? And then finding a solution to solve it. True entrepreneurs in growing your business. I'd be interested to know how your partnership, you're both partners in this business. What's that been like growing the business and also growing as in a relationship like a partnership?
Yeah, it's been great. Of course, every business owner, every partnership, they're going to have disagreements and stuff, but we get along pretty well. We're both pretty relaxed people, so we're not going to get too excited about everything. One of the things, we do have a background in computer science, but I've been operating this landscaping company, so I've actually never worked in industry, whereas Brad did his degree and internship and his master's, and so he would be our computer science expert. So one of the things we laid out at the start of this was if there's a computer-related issue, Brad would kind of have the final say on it, and if there was a business-related issue, then that would be my area of expertise. So we've kind of laid things out that way. So we do have this partnership, but if there is a disagreement, we can handle it easily. And, to be honest, it's been quite smooth. We haven't had a lot of explosions so far. So it's been really good that way. And
it's early, though.
Yeah, true. There's still time. But of course, you're just
There's still time for, bump heads. Yeah. I love it. Well, that's fantastic. I absolutely love the spirit of the entrepreneur, the spirit of small business, and I think our listeners will agree with me. You're both passionate about helping small business solve this, and I just can't wait to see where you're now about 2 years into this. I can't wait to see where you're going. You've already gone so far, and with the passion of helping people and helping improve people's businesses, I know you're going to go real far. So it's really been a pleasure having you on the podcast today.
Thanks very much. This was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, I will ask, people have heard this, if this is a problem that they want to get solving, you mentioned a demo. What's the best way for them to just get in and start learning about PayTicker?
Yeah, so the best way would be just go to paytaker.com. That's paytaker without an E. We do, right now, we only do payroll in Canada. So I know you have some listeners in other countries and probably a lot in the US, and that's something that we're exploring right now. But right now we only have the payroll calculations for Canada. They could use time tracking anywhere, but that's kind of our main focus right now is Canadian businesses. But keep an eye out if you're in the US.
Absolutely. It's great. Well, I encourage anyone that is listening, take a look at this. This is a tool that will bring capacity, margin to your business and as well to your client's business. And so wonderful to have the both of you on to share your story. And again, thank you for being on.
Thank you, Abby.
And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guests and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can just scroll down and look at the show notes or go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. I would like to mention as well, if by chance you got value from this podcast or any other episode, we'd love for you to share that by leaving a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, or go to the Facebook page, the Successful Bookkeeper Facebook page, and leave us a review. Let us know what we're doing well. And if you have suggestions on shows you'd like to have us feature different guests on, let us know that as well. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.